All right, let's talk about the professional mindset and what it means to you as a creative individual, whether you're an artist or a musician or a writer or even a businessman, a business person. I think in business you definitely need to be creative. So hopefully this little lesson will have some application to you. This video is actually part 5 of my Keys to Prolific Creation series, where I go through 8 points that I try to master in my life, and I think if you master in your life, you'll find yourself being highly effective, highly productive, and even prolific, having a lot of output, which is great if you're a artist. You want to have a lot of stuff to show people, and you want to be doing a lot of work. So the professional mindset is basically in contrast to some things I've talked about before, the amateur mindset and the practice mindset, both of which sort of view whatever you happen to be doing as something that you don't do yet. And you want to view whatever your endeavor is as something you are doing now. So the professional mindset is you're going to act with your creative output as if you were already a professional at it. And I really hate to use the qualifier as if, because you don't want to have that in your mind, that there's this qualifier there that it's like, I'm acting as if I'm a professional. It's like, no, you are a professional. You are doing this. You are whatever thing you are. You are an artist. You are a writer. You are a musician. One of the things that really sort of bugs me is when someone's like, well, I'm an aspiring writer. It's like, I don't like the word aspiring. It's like, are you writing something? Are you working on something? Are you putting things out? It's like, yeah, well, yes. Okay, then you're a writer. Say, I'm a writer, and then you just have to know where you are on your professional journey as a writer. So the professional mindset, first of all, it's knowing that what you're doing, you're actually getting to do it now. You're not doing it at some distant future time where eventually, if you get good enough, you get to finally be the thing that you want to be. It's like, I'm aspiring to one day be a writer. It's like, no, you're a writer right now. You can still grow and be a writer right now. You can still be professional now and grow in the future. Those things are not mutually exclusive. It's the same thing with music. Someone's like, oh, I'm an aspiring musician. It's like, do you play music right now? It's like, yes, I do play music right now. It's like, great. Do you perform music? It's like, yes. Then you're a musician. Okay, that's what you are. That's good. It's okay to be a musician. You don't have to say, like, you don't have to be Metallica in order to be professional. That's the other thing. People draw this box around professional that's sometimes unrealistic. And it's like, I was a professional musician. I made like all my money playing music. That didn't mean that I was like as rich as Metallica. It just meant I paid my bills, and that's good. And Stephen King kind of had a similar attitude. It's like, if you've been a writer and somebody's written you a check somehow for your writing, that's good. You're a professional writer. That's great. I think you are a writer, So you need to just have that approach that I'm a writer and I'm looking to pursue this. The other thing is, nobody wants to hire an aspiring musician to play a gig. Go, hey, I do performances. I'm an aspiring musician. Maybe you'd like to hire me. They're like, well, no, I'll go hire the guy who is a musician. So you want to be like, I'm a musician. This is how much music I could play. This is the type of music I play, and these are the venues that I'm looking for, and approach it like that. So that's a really, really important part of what you're going to do. The other thing about the professional mindset is that you have to understand how a professional is actually going to think in your field and act that way. So, a professional will have like things like a website, portfolios. The professional will think about the market when they're creating a particular product, right? So if you're a businessman, you have to think about what people want and then deliver that product to them. And as artists, we need to think about that as well. We need to be approaching the market as something that we interact with, something that we create a product for, something that that people out there want what we're doing, and we're going to be able to create some kind of interchange there. So part of being a professional is that you're not pursuing like a record contract. It's like you have a record. That's what you need to be shooting for. You need to finish the book, and then you are working on promoting that book. That's what it really means to be a professional, not sort of hoping one day to eventually have stars align and somehow you've done enough work to eventually be a professional. You can have the website now. You need to be working on it. You can have your portfolio. If you're an artist, you need to be working on that and continuing to build it and be available for hire. That's part of being a professional as well, is being available to sell whatever you're doing, or being available to put it out. Have your record for sale, have your book for sale. That's all part and parcel of the same thing. And that means you're going to have to keep track of your money, your investments, things like that. You need to think about your time as an investment with a return. And you need to understand the correlation between what you're doing and what sort of return on investment you're trying to get. That's also part of the professional mindset to me. So for example, the amount of time that you spend writing a book is an investment. Now you could spend that time doing something else. If it takes 200 hours to write a book, okay, let's say it takes 200 hours to write a book, which is probably not a super lengthy book, but let's say it's 200 hours to write a book. That 200 hours, if you were doing something else, how much money would you be expecting to make out of it? Because your goal would be that 200-hour investment should eventually, hopefully, give you a return as the same as if you'd like worked at McDonald's. And so as time goes to infinity, you want your time to be translating into something for you. It doesn't mean that everything you do has to be focused on money, but you need, at a certain point, you need to think like, well, if I write this book or this book, which one is going to end up doing more for me? So do I want to write the reverse vampire book, or do I want to write like the horror book that's really strong in the genre? And it's like if you choose the horror book, and then it's like you think about how well that sells and you keep track of that. And as you write more books or produce more albums, you get an even better idea of how this stuff works. You have a good connection between the return on investment. Likewise, if you're a musician, return on investment is really important because you're investing your time practicing material, your time going to the performance, your time performing, and your time going home, right? So all of those are investments for a gig. So if you're practicing 20 hours in a week to go do one gig and you get paid $100 for it, spend a half hour getting there and a half hour getting back, you've gotten paid really only 50 hours for your time on that one day. But if you split it out over 20 hours, it becomes like a really, really, really small paycheck. So what you really need to be doing is figuring out how for that 20 hours of investment, you're going to be producing a lot of performances. That's why a lot of, classical guitarists I know, they practice for a season. They practice 8 hours a day for like a month leading up to a season where they're playing a bunch of concerts. And then after that, the practice is less. It's just maintenance. And then you're playing a bunch of concerts of the same music without having to learn new stuff. And that's an important way to think about how that investment can translate as well. If you're in a band, it's the same thing. The amount of time that 3 of you, 4 of you, however big your band is, get together, practice, produce the content, and then go out and gig. You need to be doing a lot of gigs on that based on that original practice investment in order for you to be sort of making financial progress. And that also includes like professional progress as well. You need to keep track of the return on investment for. It's like, we could go play at this bar twice this week for 50 people a piece and maybe they pay more. But if we go play this free show for one of those nights, we're going to play for 1,000 people. That's going to hopefully get us enough fan base that we could play bigger venues later on. So you have to calculate that sort of investment and not just think about getting paid by the hour. Time is an investment that should yield a return. And sometimes you work for free on one side so that you can get paid on the other. You're not getting paid an hourly wage to write a book. You get paid by selling that book later on. And that's an important part of the professional mindset, is you're keeping track of how all these things are working to sort of produce your ends. You need to kind of think like a businessman in the arts. I think it's a good thing. It doesn't mean that everything you do has to be based on I need to get as much money as possible, but you need to be thinking realistically about what you're getting out of whatever you're doing, because that can make a decision about what project you do, what song you work on next. All these sorts of things have sort of an order of importance that help you make good decisions for yourself and for your health as well. Because you don't want to be, nothing is more like psychically damaging than throwing yourself into a project that ends up being a flop or not working out. You need to make good qualified decisions about how your investment with that time is going to end up paying off for you. So that's the professional mindset. Hopefully those examples are a little bit helpful for you. Just so you know, my newest book here, Water of Awakening, is available free Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Last time it'll be available free on Amazon before I get out of Kindle Unlimited for a while and go wide on some other platforms. So that's going to be October 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2017, if you're watching this in the future. I'm pretty proud of this book. I worked pretty hard on it, and I designed everything about it as well. We talked about talent stacks in the other video. I created the jacket design, the typesetting. I did everything myself, and that feels pretty cool because I didn't have to pay anybody else, even though I invested some time to learn the skill of typesetting And design, the ROI is that essentially I didn't have to pay somebody else $300 to $1,000 in order to do this work. I paid myself just my time. And that is a way that you can think of investment. And the skills that I learned here are going to translate to the next cover that I design, the next book that I come out with. I'm going to save that money again. Eventually you save enough money that boom, you've paid for your investment in time. So this will be available free. Last time it'll be available free on Amazon. Link will be down below. Water of Awakening, it is a fantasy novel, a heroic fantasy novel that I'm very, very proud of. You can also check out my album. The new Zool album will be coming out October 31st. That's Halloween 2017. Available for pre-order on Amazon and iTunes right now, and it'll eventually be available streaming on all major platforms as well. The cover design for that, I also designed myself. So again, the investment is yielding returns for me, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So you can take a look at it as I switch over to do my little ad and say I will see you guys next time, and I hope you have a great time. Leave me your comments down below about what you think is important for the professional mindset and conducting yourself as a professional so that you can grow your career the way that you want it to grow. So have a good one. I'll see you next time.